Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about my USMLE Step 1 experience. So if this is something you're interested in, please keep watching. So to begin with, I want to talk about what I did the day before my exam. I also want to point out that what I did day before my exam, I did around 3-4 days before my Step 1. So it was pretty much the same thing I did the 4 days leading up to my Step 1. I woke up early, around 5:30 to mimic the day of the exam. My exam was at 8 a.m. And from there, I only reviewed through first aid. I didn't do any questions. And the reason for this is I didn't want to go into anxiety mode. So to avoid that, I just decided I would review first aid topics that I was weak in and get those covered. So day before, I decided to focus mostly on pharmacology and biostatistics, and I'm glad I did that, and I didn't do anything too heavy. So I started my day waking up at 5 a.m. and I told myself day before I would review till 4 p.m. and turns out I didn't review for that long, and I'm very glad I didn't. I ended my review actually around 1:30 in the afternoon, and I'm really glad I did because at a point during my review, I was reading the words in first aid, but nothing was sticking in. I felt like I was just like looking at them, and I was like, this is not helping me in any way, so I'm just gonna close the book and go from there. After finishing my review around 1:30, my sister took me out to enjoy some time. Now, keep in mind, this was during COVID when I took my step. So nowhere was open, at least for my state where I am. There were no restaurants open or anything, so we decided to just get some ice cream and go to the local park. And it turned out to be a really nice thing that my sister did for me, and I'm very thankful for that. So we took our ice cream, went to the park, and we went on a walk through the park, and I felt very happy being in nature and just seeing the birds and all other animals in the park, and it took my mind off of it. It really did, because in the morning I was very anxious, and I think she saw that, so she just decided to take me out for a nice fresh air and get my mind off of things. So I highly recommend, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or anxious the day before, definitely do something. Go outside, get some fresh air, go out in nature, have some fun, eat some ice cream like I did, and enjoy your time. You know, you studied so hard for this exam. You deserve anything that can make you feel better and make you feel more confident. So I'm very happy that I ended up doing that. And then we came back to our Airbnb. My exam, I couldn't find one in my city, so I had to drive a couple of hours out, and I decided to get an Airbnb to avoid any So once we got back to the Airbnb, we had our dinner, and I went to sleep around 8 p.m. It was very hard for me to fall asleep initially, I will admit. I am an anxious test taker, so all these thoughts kept running through my mind continuously, and I was thinking of all these scenarios. So anyway, I was able to fall asleep eventually. I believe it was 11:30, 12 maybe. But I had a really good sleep, and I felt very well rested once I woke up at 5 a.m. And I felt very confident the day of my exam. I was so happy. Oddly thinking about it now, I was very happy. And I think most of it was because I was finally getting to take this exam. Oh, disclaimer, because this was during COVID, I had to reschedule my exam 3 times. My exam was canceled by prometric 3 times due to social distancing and, you know, other regulations from COVID. So I was very happy I was finally able to take this exam. And I remember waking up and just being thankful and happy and positive and confident. So I get to the testing center and everything goes smoothly. The prometric center called us in 2-3 people at a time to make sure we are social distancing, and they were able to get us seated at our computers on time. So I was able to start my exam on time, which I'm very happy about as well. I was worried due to COVID if it would if I would not be able to start on time, and it would be a longer exam than I wanted. But I'm very thankful they were able to get me in on time. And the testing center people were very kind, they were very nice, and they, even given the circumstances, you know, social distancing and all these other regulations with COVID, they handled it really well, and I was very happy about that. So once I got to my computer where I was going to take my exam, my USMLE Step 1 exam, I said a little prayer and I went ahead and started my exam. And I remember seeing the first question of the block and thinking, oh my god, I'm actually taking the Step 1 exam. It was a very happy experience, but of course I was nervous as well taking my exam. Now, I do want to say that initially when I first started studying for Step 1, I told myself I would do 2 blocks back to back, and then a 10-minute break, 2 blocks back to back, and then split up the breaks for the rest of the blocks. But it turned out on the day of my exam, I told myself that I would be more fluid with when I take my breaks, and I would listen to my body and my mind, and if I felt like I really needed a break, I would take it. I wouldn't be harsh on the schedule and only do it the way I practiced my practice exams at home. So on the day of my Step 1, I did take a break between every block. And looking back now, I'm actually very glad I did that, because that allowed me to stay more focused and also more energized. I felt like after each break that I took, I came back like ready to go and like keep going, full of energy. Taking the breaks between each block really allowed me to clear my mind and to erase all the questions that I remembered from the previous block and get back into the zone and continue going with the same energy and momentum I started with. Now, of course, my lunch break was a little bit longer. For example, I believe my shortest break that I took was maybe 3 minutes just sitting at my desk. I just took a little breather, a couple of deep breaths, cleared my mind, and just gave myself a little pep talk, and then I went ahead and started the next block. So not every break was a certain, like a fixed amount of time. I just went with what felt right. There were some breaks, I believe there were 2 or 3 breaks that I took, maybe 5 minutes, where I actually got up, walked around, came back in. So one of the breaks that I took was a little bit longer one, other than the lunch one, obviously. For lunch, I think I gave myself 13 or 14 minutes. It was a little under 15 minutes. And then the other second longest break that I took was around 10 minutes. And I remember going down the hallway. The bathroom at the prometric center that I was taking my exam at was down the hallway from their office. So I remember during this break when I was going to the bathroom, I was skipping down the hallway because I was so happy. I can't explain how happy I was just to take this exam and finally be like, I've taken my Step 1, you know? So I was, seriously, I'm not even joking, I was skipping down the hallway, coming back from the bathroom, and I checked in. You have to check in every time you leave the testing center. So I checked back in, got back on my computer, and started my exam again. I know a lot of people are nervous about how they're going to take their breaks when they take their Step 1, but my advice would be just to be fluid with it. You know, don't put yourself in a position where you're sticking to the schedule that you used when you were doing your practice exams at home. For example, for me, it was 2 blocks back to back, 10-minute break, and another 2 blocks back to back, you know, with the practice and BMEs online. So I would say, you know, just tell yourself that you'll go with the flow. That's what I told myself on my exam day. Like, whatever happens, I'm just gonna go with the flow and do what feels right to me. I'm not gonna make it harder on myself in any way. So that's why when I was there, something just told me inside that, you know what, you need a little break. So I took a break every block, some longer than others, and my shortest break was 3 minutes. And I am so glad I did this, because I don't think I would have gotten the score I did if I just told myself, like, no, this is how you practice, this is how you're gonna do it. But I'm glad I listened to myself and I took the breaks. So I guess my biggest advice for this Step 1 exam would be to tell yourself that you're gonna go with the flow and you're just gonna do what feels right to you. Another thing I want to say is, I don't know if, for me personally, I often think about questions from the previous block that I made maybe a silly mistake on. I remember my first block, I made a silly mistake on something. It was a very easy question, but I of course overthought it and I picked the wrong answer. And I was telling myself during the break, oh my gosh, I made such a silly mistake. But I told myself, you know what? It could be one of the questions that's just thrown out. Just try to keep yourself motivated and don't talk down to yourself if you felt like you made a silly mistake. Silly mistakes are bound to happen. It's such a long exam. You're gonna overthink a few questions. It's inevitable. And many people I've talked to who have taken the step one have also said, yeah, they made a few silly mistakes. But don't let that beat you, don't let that bring you down. Just keep going, stay positive, and tell yourself that you've got this. Because at the end of the day, you want to be happy about this, you want to feel confident about this, and you want to feel amazing while taking step one. So do whatever you can that will bring your energy up and your vibrations up. For me, it was just giving myself a pep talk every break and telling myself that I got this. So this was my little video on my USMLE Step 1 experience. I hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope that you stay positive and optimistic throughout your dedicated as well as on the day of your exam. Remember, you got this, stay positive, try to visualize yourself opening your score report with your goal score there, and just bring in that happy energy and you'll do amazing. Good luck to everyone taking step one, and I hope you enjoyed this video.